Now, are you one of those people who suffers from procrastination and overwhelm and inconsistency and all these creative ideas and streams, but unable to make any progress, or low and high motivation and energy? I just want you to know that you are not broken, and there is a way to find out how to self manage and self optimize your cycles. Now, I am a self activation and business energetics mentor. And so I work with a lot of people who tend to have a lot of creative flow and inconsistency. And really, what happens is that we see that they are imposing the wrong systems and routines for them, right? And the secret to unlock and find how to maintain your motivation and productivity is to understand how to balance, or what is your unique balance of the masculine and feminine. Now, I don't like to use the words masculine and feminine because there is a gender connotation, and it's nothing to do with that. It's more related to the left brain, or form and discipline and goal setting and to-do lists, very structured ways of being. That's very left brain. Versus the right brain, which doesn't perform well at all with structures and discipline and to-do lists. The right brain is the creative. It likes to think outside the box, whereas the left brain loves boxes. If there's a box, it knows exactly what to do, and it will meet the goal of whatever that box or structure or routine is. But right brain people, right, that feminine, that flow, they hate boxes. You give them a task or a box or a to-do list or some kind of goal, and instantly it makes them feel overwhelmed. It makes them not want to do it, right? Because flow can't be contained. Flow needs freedom. Now, we live in a very masculine or dominant left brain world where we have been taught, or let's say the people succeeding the most right now, they really thrive with structure and routine. And we've been taught that if you just work hard enough, if you just discipline yourself hard enough, you will achieve your goal. But this really is not going to work for people who are right brain or flow dominant. Right? That is just going to make them do nothing. That will trigger their procrastination. That will completely make them feel unmotivated, right? Because also that right brain, that flow or that feminine side, it can only do what it has energy for in the moment. And these people are more moment to moment, right? So they actually have to have almost no plan. They got to destroy their whole to-do list and then go throughout the day and ask themselves, what do I have energy for? Or what do I have excitement or emotional passion for? This is very different to that left brain structured way. The left brain people, they can say, well, if it's on my list, I can do it. And you know what? They can do it. That's the very thing that drives them. That's the very thing to make them avoid procrastination. If they didn't have a to-do list, they wouldn't get anything done all day. That's when they would experience procrastination and low motivation and low energy. You can really see the two different types on vacation, right? The one who you get there and they're like, okay, this is what we're doing today. And they'll even plan in their rest time or their beach lounging day. It will be planned in. And because it's planned in, they will allow themselves to relax because they have planned in relaxation time. Right? But then the right brain people on holiday, right? They'll just be like, I don't know. I just want to see how it goes, right? I want to do whatever I feel like. So they're just two very different types of people, very different types of ways of setting your day and your schedule. One thrives with schedule that helps them to tap into their motivation and productivity and avoid procrastination. And the other type who, that any little bit of discipline or pressure or stress or you should do this and it should be done in this way will trigger their procrastination and low motivation. And these people tend to work in more energetic waves. They have really high peaks of productivity and then really low peaks where they almost want to do nothing. So it's, again, a very different way of being. And they need to tap in and honor and accept that sometimes they have energy for a lot of things and sometimes they don't have energy for nothing. And if they keep forcing themselves, what's happening is these types of people, they force themselves to be more left brain or masculine structured or to be form focused and form based, right? They keep forcing themselves to do that when they're in that low energy peak and they just reach burnout. So then when what should be their high energetic peak or their high peak of productivity, they actually don't have any energy, right? Because they burnt themselves out in what was meant to be their rest period. So they also don't get much done in their high energetic peak or their productivity time. So if these people could just rest more and just tap in what they have energy for in the moment, what they feel passionate about, they would then find that suddenly they have so much energy and then they run around and they get everything done in 3 hours. Does that sound familiar? Does that resonate with you? And we have incorrectly labeled these people as kind of manic energy. Now, certainly there is a point, and each person has to understand what's their baseline behavior, what I call our base zero. That's your healthy behavior. And of course, you will know when you are going to the unhealthy behavior, right? Where it becomes to a point that you can't actually control or stop it. But for a lot of people, these kind of energy waves or these manic highs and lows can actually be managed into your high productivity and your high rest. It doesn't mean you are broken if you can learn to manage and optimize that. And often what I have found is that these people get more done in those 3 hours than if they had set a to-do list for 8 hours of their day, right? Someone who is really left brain or routine structured, it might take them 8 hours to do it. And they're very methodical and they stick with their energy and they tend to be more consistent until they get everything done. But other people who have more these energetic waves, who need to really tap into flow, when it's there, it's there. When it's not, it's not. These people get a lot done in a very short amount of time. And you will start to see, if you are one of these people, just how productive and how much motivation that you can tap into when you allow yourself to follow those waves of high productivity and complete rest. Now, it might feel like that some days you are moving mountains and other days you are not moving at all. And I've been experimenting with this a lot, and I do this a lot in my mentorships. And we really build businesses and careers and lifestyles that are built around the person, right? We look at what is their exact balance of when they need structure, but when they need flow and to tap into the moment and how they feel. Now, everybody's going to have some kind of mix of this, right? I did talk about learning to balance the two. If you are all structure and all left brain, then you're going to really lack in that joy and freedom and creativity. Maybe you try to implement an idea, but because you don't allow that creativity and that imagination, it doesn't grow to be even better and more innovative. So you need a bit of both. But if you just try to be all flow and creativity and imagination, then you're not actually putting anything into form, right? There's no actual output at all. So there is a point that you need to balance and find out just how much flow and rest and imagination and tapping into how you feel and allowing all of that. But at some point you do have to be like, okay, how do I bring this into form? You need to balance your flow with form. One cannot live without the other. If you only ever have an idea in your head, right, that's flow, very right brain, it never actually exists or manifests into the world if you never implement it, right? The implementation, the form is the physical, it's the tangible thing. The idea is the intangible, right? So this is how we learn to balance our flow and form so that we are still allowing ourselves to go as our energy goes and as our motivation goes and as the creative ideas come and go, or that we have energy that comes and goes, but then making sure that at some point we are also bringing that into a real life thing, right? Our productivity or our progress. It's just that your day-to-day might look so different of how to do that. And I've been experimenting with this. This might mean that I wake up and I have zero energy and I say, oh my gosh, I cannot do the task that I set today. I just have no energy. So I take that pressure off myself. Obviously trying to put that form or structure or that pressure, it's killing my motivation. It's actually making me feel overwhelmed and it's going to trigger my procrastination. And I know that if I go sit down at my computer, a task that would normally take 10 minutes is going to take me 3 hours. What a waste of my energy. So instead, I honor that. I tap into my flow in the moment. How do I feel? I don't want to do anything. So I allow my rest period. And you will be so surprised that when I just take all that pressure and routine and structure off, 3-4 hours later of completely properly resting, I then suddenly get my productivity and motivation burst, and I get everything I needed to get done in 3 hours. That is the way that I function. I still have to come back and progress and put it into form, but because I allowed my very right brain dominance of needing that freedom and that flow and that honoring that rest cycle, that is what helped me to tap into my productivity, right? So it's also just reframing that not everybody is consistent and structured. Some people are inconsistent. They have cycles, they have waves, they have ups and downs. They're not progressive. They're not step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. They're point A, point Z, back to C, right? And that's okay. If we accept that, if you learn how to accept what you naturally do and how you naturally function and what's the best way to manage your cycles and your energy and your motivation and your productivity, you will be surprised how suddenly you heal and you get rid of your procrastination and your low motivation and your low energy. So I would love to hear from anybody who has experimented with this, or if this resonates, or if you really identify with those high periods of productivity and then low periods of rest, and what that means to you if you suddenly reframe that and say, oh, I actually am very productive. Right? What happens? Does that just change the way that you see yourself? So I'd love to hear from your personal experiences in the comments. And when everybody shares and tells a story, it also helps other people identify the behaviors in their life. So I can't wait to hear how this shows up for you in your life.